Hello, I hope this video finds you well. In these set of videos, we are going to make this piano scale generator. So I've been learning how to play the piano. I already had some experience with the guitar, and I've really loved the experience, and I want to help people that who are learning on the guitar know how to translate that into the piano. And this was a great way for me to kind of understand my major and minor scales, which I finally understand, I think. So what it does is a simple web page where you have a drop down to select your scale, your major or minor scale. So I'm going to pick a major scale, and then you can pick any key. I'm going to select the key of E and I submit, and it shows me the keys on the piano that would correlate to the E scale, the E major scale on the piano. Now, I want to be upfront. This isn't a perfect resource. There's lots of things that could be better about it, and there's probably what I would do, and I should have done, is consult with the people that I'm making this for before building it. But for the spirit of just this activity, we want to go through that process. And when you're done, you can think about, how could I make this better? So you can find all of this code on my GitHub repository that's linked in the below section in the comments. And we're going to go through this and do this in what I predict is going to be 5 stages. In this first stage, we're just going to get the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript kind of set up. And we're going to include the canvas. And I'm going to encourage you just to cut and paste that code, because I want you to understand how we drew it. But it takes a little bit of time. This is just one of those intensive, just grunt work, so to speak. And with that in mind, let's dive in. So I've made this file called Piano Scale 1, and let's just delete everything so we start from scratch. We'll save it. There it is. Well, that was just something I was playing with. There it is. Piano Scale 1 is now loaded. It is a page on here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open it in H and hit Tab, and that will create the body of my HTML. HTML has this format with always an open and close tag. So we have our HTML open, our HTML close. We have our header tag, we have our title tag, and there's our body tag. So the first thing I want to do is I want to give this a title, and the title is going to be Piano Scale Generator. And when I save this and I come in here and I reload this, what this does, and I'll just pull this down for a second so you can see, what this does here is you can see it actually sets up the Piano Scale Generator there. There it is. Okay, let's pull this back up. All right. So now I'm going to add my title. So I'm going to make a p tag, and I'm going to give that p tag an ID equal to title. And I'm going to say Piano Scale Generator, and then I'm going to close that p tag, and I'm going to save it, and I'm going to refresh this, and I see here I get Piano Scale Generator. Now I want to give this a little bit of style. So this is where CSS comes in, and it's always good to put your CSS at the top. I do encourage you to link to a file, external file, and there's a lot of benefits to that. For this program, I have a really small amount of CSS, so I'm going to do it right here. And so I'm going to open that up. I'm going to say style, and then I'm going to close that style tag. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do title. So because this is an ID title, I want to apply the style to just that ID. Remember, the big idea here is that if you have an item that is going to be uniquely identified, you use the ID tag. If you have a tag that is going to be multiple, like to it, you're going to apply some CSS to multiple tags, multiple things, you use a class. And so this hashtag here that says title is an ID. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set some style to this. So I'm going to set my background color, and I'm going to set that to 000, which is a three code hexadecimal value for color. I'm going to set the color to FFF, which will give me that nice black on white, or white on black actually. And then I'm going to set the padding to 3px and 6px. And this is a short form notation that allows you to know that this is going to be the top and bottom padding, and this is going to be the left and right padding. So when I save this, and now I reload this, oh, I lost my text. What happened there? Let's pause this. Right here, I forgot to put the code there. That's better. There we go. So let's refresh this. There it is, Piano Scale Generator. Perfect. Okay, so now we have that, and I'm going to put a line break after br/. That's just going to put a line break. So now what I'm going to do is, if we look at our original scale, and I'm zoomed in a bit here, we see that select scale and we select our major scale. So this is a drop down. So I'm going to come back into the code here and hit enter a bunch of times, enter. I like put a little space in here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a label and that label is going to be select scale / label, and then I'm going to put a select item, and I'm going to set the ID equal to scale select, and I'm going to set option value equals 1, and that's going to be major. Close that option. Option value equals 2, be minor. Close that option, and then I'm going to close my select. So if I save this now and reload it, there's my major, so I can do a drop down, major and minor. Now you might have said, wait a second, you've given this select tag an ID, but I haven't actually applied a style to it. That's because I'm going to use this ID when I actually do some JavaScript code a little bit later in the program. Okay, let's add our second drop down here. So our second drop down, again, I'm going to put a couple breaks because I like to kind of add some space in here. It's just a quick way to do it. And again, I'm going to make another label tag. It's essentially exactly the same thing I have up here. I'm going to have a label and then with the select and the options in it. So the label, and I'm going to go select key. I'm going to close that label, and then I'm going to say select, and I set an ID equal to scale key. And then now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the options in here. Now, I don't want to type them all in because it's going to take a little bit of time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause it. I'm going to show you where you can go and find this and just paste it in. So just bear with me for a second. So what I've done is I've just gone to my GitHub repository. I've gone into my Year 10 Design piano scale products, and I'm just pulling from the master. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to come back to my code here, and I'm going to paste this in. So I'm going to hit save. And that's a really quick way just to kind of get those in here. So we have our select, our options. And I save this, and I come back in here, and I reload this. And there we go. I have my select scale major, my select key A, and I can select any key. Remember, and again, this is a really important thing. You might not be a musician, but you might be asked to build something for a musician. So you're going to have to learn to get enough knowledge to be able to ask the right questions and do what needs to be done, but not get bogged down in the details. So it's important to know that there's no such thing as a B sharp, and there's no such thing as an E sharp. So we have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 notes in the musical scale. And this is an important idea to be aware of. Why that is? If you're the programmer, you don't need to know why. You just need to accept that when you're coding and understand that when we develop some logic later. Okay, the next thing I want to do is I want to add a button. So I'm going to come down here, and to make a button, I'm just going to make an input. So I'm going to say input type equals submit, and now I'm going to say, I'm just going to put that there for now, and I'm going to save this. I'm going to come here, I'm going to reload this, and there's my submit button. Now notice how it puts it in the same line, because by default these items get put in the same line. So I'm going to put a BR slash again, BR slash, BR slash. And I save this and reload this, and there it is. So I hit that submit. We're going to bind this eventually to do something, but not right now. Okay, the last thing I want to add in here is I want to add a canvas. So I'm going to make a canvas, and I'm going to set the ID equal to, and I call this key canvas, and then the width is going to be equal to 310. The height is equal to 130. The style equals border 1px solid, and I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And so this is just an interesting, a couple things that are good for just general understanding. You'll notice here what I'm doing is I'm putting some style inside the tag. This is called Inline Css. I really recommend you avoid Inline Css unless you're being very deliberate about what you're doing. Inline Css is a last resort, because what happens is if you have CSS up here in your style that is driving what it looks like, this CSS, if it contradicts it, it will override it completely. So a lot of the time students will put inline CSS in their HTML, and then they'll come up here and they'll try and change the style, and they won't understand why it's not working. You need to be very deliberate about inline CSS and how you use it. So we've opened that canvas, and then I'm going to close the canvas. And we're going to save this, and in theory I should see a border there. Oh, it seems to have a spacer. Let's go back and figure out what happened there. Let's pull this back up. There we go. Okay, let's do that. Okay, good enough. So I come down here, what happened here? So I found my problem here. I had a colon there, and that seemed to mess things up. So I got rid of that colon, save it. So I have my canvas here now, and if I refresh this, there's my canvas. Okay, the last thing I want to do is I want to put just the piano in there. Again, this is going to be a cut and paste job, but it's important here maybe just to highlight how we actually manipulate the canvas. So what we're going to do is I'm going to come into my repository again. I'm going to come down to the JavaScript, and you see here this comment that says this section draws a piano. We're going to highlight all the way down here. These are our, come up here, these are the white keys, there's the black keys. I don't want the fill right now. I just want, basically I'm going to take all of this. Let's copy all of this, and we're going to come back to our code, and we're going to come down here, and at the bottom of our code, we're going to make a script. And it's really important that we always put our script at the bottom of the page unless there's a reason otherwise. And there's a number of reasons for this. The main one being that if the script takes a little time to load, the page will be drawn and set up, and that way that time isn't as apparent. Also, if you're accessing things in the page, they have to be drawn before you manipulate them. So I'm just going to paste all of this in here, and I'm going to give this a save, and if I've done this correctly, I should see a piano keys in there. And there they are. And so now we have this nice kind of front-end image that we can now take in our next video and start doing something with. I hope this video helped. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Have a great day.